Okay, the Planet Hank Live Show, the finest form of entertainment, Thursday night, 8 p.m. We've got the very best show lined up for everybody tonight. We already know that everybody enjoys this, but nobody enjoys this show more than myself. Every Thursday night, I get a chance to get online with everybody, all my supporters, all my haters, and I get to talk about issues. I get to talk about the finest news in all of Vermont, in all of New England, throughout the nation. Let me go set the mood for us. Tonight's show is going to include the absolute finest stories. Make sure that you do the most important part, which is share up my podcast, this live show. I'm going to do that right now. We're going to let some people file in. We are live streaming across several platforms right now. She says, nice tie, nerd. If you're first in the chat, make sure that you say you're first. Perry says, Planet Hank for president. That's right. I'm going to share it into my story. Let everybody know that we are live. I'm streaming across several platforms right now, including Facebook and YouTube, Twitter, and Elon Musk's X, which always ends up being a massive turnout. Let me go ahead and pull up my X account. I love watching along on my X account and allowing everybody to file in and enjoy themselves. I'm going to share this into some of the finest groups. The Planet Hank recap, Planet Hank Brattleboro News recap show. We've been blowing up across the hashtag State of Vermont. We've had a huge week. So I'm going to share it to Southern Vermont Speaks, Putney, Vermont News and Info. And I got some Putney, Vermont topics I can talk about. Chester, Vermont Unleashed. Shout out to Chester and the Chester crew. Trump Daily Report. Barrie City Community Fan Page. Let's see it. We went up to Barrie last week. The Planet Hank Locker Room. And I can't stress it enough, but it's the very best, the absolute finest group available. And I think that everybody, she goes, make sure you share, Perry Phillips. And I think everybody should join the Planet Hank Locker Room, see what we got going on. Scanner gossip. Now, I've been avoiding the Brattleboro, Vermont groups. I've been avoiding some of the toxic groups and places throughout Brattleboro where libtards have basically overrun them. And I think that it's detrimental for the very wonderful, good people of Vermont and nationwide who want to take part in a conversation. I think that we're going to avoid the mental ill people and the crazy people and the people that would do us harm. We'll just skip that. Mature member Scanner 2.0, Keene Connection, shout out to Keene, New Hampshire, MAGA Vermont, all day. 802 Vermont Alliance, definitely. Okay, now I've shared it to a bunch. And I would love for you guys to tag some people in and share it to some people who you think that would enjoy this, or even people who absolutely 100% need this. Okay? There's a lot of people who absolutely need this. They need to learn from this. They might need to listen to what I have to say. Maybe you've got a libtard in your group. Chris says, heck yeah, watching from Swansea, New Hampshire. Now, is my sound good? Does everything sound great? Make sure you put in the comments if it sounds great. Now, this show here, this is for everybody. And by everybody, I mean even the people who are definitely triggered, who want to be mad, who want to find a reason that they can crash out, that they can complain all week, that they can call Hank a nasty name and call me racist, misogynist, bigoted, homophobic, whatever they got to say, whatever they have, I invite you, launch your best attacks at me. Let's see what you've got. This content might be considered graphic to some audiences for entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. He says, yeah, you're sounding good, brother. Thank you. Great. So there it is. This show, I love doing this show. I do it every week, Thursday, 8 p.m. And let me go ahead and play this video. Let's see what the show's about today. Leftists want guns. Leftists want guns. We'll be covering Constitution Day. My celebration last week was a huge hit. The cost of living is skyrocketing. I don't know if you've looked at prices and tax increases. It's outrageous. The Tylenol frenzy. Trump says don't take Tylenol. Leftists take it. The revolving door of crime. An outrageous story we had here in Brattleboro, Vermont that went viral. Leftist violence. Antifa being classified a terrorist organization. And the free speech debate featuring Jimmy Kimmel and several others who have been canceled. She said the tie doesn't match your jacket. Yes it does. Don't you be a jerk. The Planet Hank live show, the absolute finest form of entertainment. Let me tell you like this. This is where you go to get the Brattleboro news. She says, look at you, all suited and booted up there. Oh my God, the Tylenol. This makes me need a Tylenol. Don't you be taking that. Do not be taking that. So now here's the thing. The Brattleboro News Recap is a place where this all started. Okay, this all started for the Brattleboro News. I was able to get out in my community and I started filming. I started filming police interactions. I started filming situations that involved all kinds of different local news, and it just blew up. I'll tell you like this. I have a chart. Let me go ahead and add this. Let me add this. Oh, yeah, here it is. Let me add this here. We have a little chart because I'll tell you, people sure love the Brattleboro News, and they sure support the heck out of your boy. Whether they know it or not, they love it. They love the Brattleboro News, and with that comes a lot of wonderful, let me pull this chart up. A lot of wonderful people, very fine people, actually. Let me throw this little chart up that celebrates what we're all doing here. This is the Planet Hank News popularity growth chart. And if you can't tell which direction we're going, it's going up. Things are looking wonderful over here at Brattleboro News, regardless of what some of those mentally ill leftists might tell you. who want to try to silence you, that might want to try to attack you, might want to try to do damage to our news source and your boy, Hank. We have been growing, and it all started with the Brattleboro News and the wonderful recap show we do. But what we do here, we all know it, is we play a very popular and very important news story from our community, and then I allow people to make comments, ask me questions, and I give you a couple seconds to hear some behind the scenes tidbits that you might not have had a chance to actually get from the original video. So here it is. We're going to watch this very important video, and I expect some questions. I expect some meaningful questions from you guys.
Breaking news.
I'm Hank with Brattleboro News and PlanetHank.com, bringing you the latest from our community. Brattleboro police responded to a call about a highly intoxicated woman in distress found unconscious in the bushes off Maple Street. Officers were directed by bystanders to the woman who had rolled down a ravine and was lying on the ground. She was heavily intoxicated, uncooperative, and resisted officers' attempts to assist her back to the street. As the woman became belligerent and aggressive, an officer from Hinsdale, New Hampshire, was called to assist Brattleboro police and safely escorting her to a police vehicle.
Don't touch me. I ain't touching you. You touching me. Back up. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Where are you going? You're not. You're obviously not safe to go anywhere. Stay on the. Okay. Did you fall? Did you fall that way? Please, I'm out of here. Please let me go. You're not free to go. Please.
Debbie.
Please let me go, please.
No,
I'm
stop.
asking you, please let me go.
And I'm telling you no.
I'm asking you, please let me go. Ow! Ow! Ow!
Slow down. Slow down. Look at me. Look at me. My name is Cole, and I'm here to help you. Devin, come on this way.
You have to listen to them.
No. No.
Let me go! Let me go!
That'll be your last straw. Devin, we're going to the
Please,
hospital.
I'm asking you, please
Take a
let me
step
go.
forward with us.
Please let me go.
Please, Devin.
Yes, you
No, they
fucking
didn't.
did.
That's not Ryan.
Stop. Stop.
Ah!
Devin.
Devin, stop.
On your side.
I don't know why.
Hey.
Devin, stop. They're not Ryan. This is the police.
Hey. Come on.
Back up. Ow! Don't fucking touch me! Ow! Help me! Please help me!
We
tried helping
You keep hitting the police. This is what happened when you didn't listen to
Devin,
us.
you're
We
still not
tried
really in
helping
trouble.
you.
Perfect. One.
Stop, please stop.
One, two, 3. Stand up. Perfect. Come on, Devin.
Please stop.
Yeah, I'd watch that now.
Come on, Devin. Keep trucking. Is she on yours? Yeah.
Please stop.
Devin, you gotta
stop.
listen.
Okay. Ready? Yep.
Leave me alone!
All right, Devin, sit up.
Please stop.
Turn around. Yep, your legs are down. Go sit in the car. Let's go.
Please, I'm asking you, please stop.
I'm asking you to get in the car. Careful.
I'm asking you.
Get in the car.
I'm asking you, please stop.
Devin, it's not happening.
You're hurting me.
She was transported to the hospital and placed in protective custody, where she allegedly assaulted hospital staff and a law enforcement officer. Under Vermont statute Title 18, Section 9144, individuals incapacitated by alcohol or drugs in public are taken to hospital emergency rooms for medical evaluation rather than to a drunk tank, unless a licensed alcohol treatment program is available. This policy attended to ensure safety has led to similar incidents in hospitals across Vermont due to the lack of dedicated sobering facilities. I was able to get a comment from Captain Petlock of the Brattleboro Police Department.
Officers responded to the area of Maple Street for a report of intoxicated person. Upon arrival, officers made contact with a female who they found to be heavily impaired. The person was transported to the hospital, where they eventually assaulted both a police officer and staff at the emergency room. The person was taken into custody, transported to the Brattleboro Police Department, where they were held in lieu of bail.
Just because you are arrested does not mean that you're guilty of a crime, and the investigation is ongoing. I'll keep you updated as this story develops. For the latest, follow me on social media or visit our website. I'm Hank with Brattleboro News.
Smokes, Devin. Holy smokes. Okay. Maybe we need to cut down on the liquor. And so this causes this major conversation about alcohol. Okay. We're very critical. We all have big opinions on open drug use, fentanyl, crack cocaine, stuff in our communities. That doesn't eclipse the huge problem that we have with alcohol. And we got local bars here in our community. She was downtown at a local bar who clearly overserved her. And obviously the video's very embarrassing for a young woman, but that's not what the point of this is. The point that I see is that it's sad. She went out with her friends. She didn't know what she was doing. She's very young. She can't handle her liquor. She was overserved. So then she drank too much and she's up there rolling around in the bushes, and you know, it was funny how she's like, yeah, whoa, you know, and that's, you know, we can laugh at it. We got to be able to laugh at stuff. I've been there. Are you kidding me? I used to be an alcoholic. You know how many times I've done something that I regretted and embarrassed myself because of alcohol? I think we've all been there. Okay? But then she went up to the hospital and she was in contact with nurses and police officers, and it continued. And now she's being charged with 2 felonies. This night is going to follow her for the rest of her days with 2 very serious charges. She could go to jail. Hopefully, I don't know if I can actually say a hopefully on that. Abusing a nurse at the emergency department because you're drunk and assaulting an officer is unacceptable behavior. You have to be able to conduct yourself in a different way than that. If anybody's got some questions, now's the time to put them up, and I could give you some details of stuff that was not in the video, and I could talk about it. So as far as policy in the state, this is the type of situation that we need another answer for this. When I was younger and you went out and got too drunk, you would go to a drunk tank. I don't think that people understand, as the video states, that no longer exists in the state of Vermont. You do not go to a drunk tank. You go to the emergency department, and they are not equipped. They need to have some sort of facility to lock people down. You know, back in the day, they would just bring you to the county jail and you would go into one of the cells and you'd sleep it off. And once you woke up in the morning, then they would send you out. And you were released, and you were, you know, and a lot of times you wouldn't even get a charge. You were just in protective custody because you couldn't protect the best interests of yourself. You didn't know what you were doing. And so now, and I always say, I want our nurses to be included in the title of first responders because of this policy. Our nurses get these situations dropped on them, and they did not sign up for this. They always have ambulances dropping trauma off to them. When someone is shot or stabbed or injured or in a car accident or having medical emergencies, you bring them up. But the way this policy plays out on the street is when somebody is PC'd, fentanyl, crack cocaine, alcohol, they end up having a very dangerous person who can't control themselves put into their custody. And fortunately, in this situation, the officer stayed. In some situations, the officer doesn't always stay, and they leave it in the hands of one of our nurses. And now she's going to have to face serious charges, assault on protected professional, meaning assault on a police officer and a nurse. Edward Chinichi writes, I owned Ryan's Bar for almost 5 years in Bennington, and it was my responsibility as the owner to make sure nothing happened to my patrons when they left my business. She goes, yes, that's what I was trying to say. Let me go ahead. Let me read up some of these comments. Jeff Bush says, she thought she was in bed. That was not her bed. That was the neighbor's shrubs. And here's some behind the scene tea. The neighbor comes out and was like, what's going on over there? He started yelling at us. Started yelling at the cops. What's going on over there? What's going on? And the officer was like, go inside. Police business. The guy like came out like, and then we were all laughing after it was over. I was like, she did some landscaping for you. You know, she took out some of those overgrown shrubs. And he was like, oh, they'll be all right. He goes, was she hurt? Man, she was hurt. I don't know if you saw it in the videos, but she was smashed in the face with quite a few different rocks. And she was, you know, it was probably 15 feet down the embankment through a shrub, and it was all prickers and bugs, and it was wet. Like that night, there was condensation already out all over. So she was like completely wet and rolling around and kept smacking her head off of the rocks at the bottom. So we called for Hinsdale to come back up the officers because some of the officers were on details for the road work that's been going on in the town. And thank God it's over because that was a pain in the butt. That was ridiculous. Like, I don't have time for road work on 3 of the main streets all night long. For anybody who drives around at night, that was terrible. Terrible. I feel like it killed our news because the town has been dead at night. There was a select board meeting today, and my friend Sue Belleville, who owns Belleville Realty, brought up that basically there's a 14% increase in crime for the month of August. And that's every month. It's been an increase across the board. But at night, sometimes it feels like the town has been dead. Last summer was out of control. So there were some very serious crimes. And maybe that's why I'm desensitized to crime, and I think that it's been slower. It's been more. Lauren Tiller writes, over-serving has a lot more to do with how many drinks someone is served, their tolerance / how they're acting. I've been there. Seem like they use standard pours, but bartenders should recognize when it's time to cut someone off. Facts. That's the essence of the case. When the officer left this crime, he was having radio chatter saying what bar was over-serving her in that way, and he wants to have a conversation and with the liquor commissioner and with the bar that this was heinous, that she should have never been that drunk. I was questioning if she had some sort of medication, if she was mixing, maybe she smoked marijuana or took some other form of drugs. Maybe she was drugged. Maybe she tried fentanyl for the first time. Maybe she smoked some crack. All of this is very accessible in downtown Brattleboro, Vermont. Mike says, it's actually a huge problem. Whoa, no, on X. Shout out to X.com. If you haven't, make sure you follow my account. Even if you only drink once a year. If you get like that, it's best not to drink at all. And that's the choice that I've made. I have a bad reaction. I'm man enough to say it. I can't handle my liquor, so I don't drink. Anybody who knew me when I did drink, they'll tell you the same thing. I can't handle the liquor. I will completely just redline and keep drinking until something bad happens or there's no more liquor, and I'll be up all night waiting until the liquor store opens. I can't stop. I can't shut it down. Kevin Gaslant writes, know your limits when drinking or this happens. I mean, aren't they supposed to know the signs of when they are supposed to cut someone off? And that's what the training's for. He goes, I need a good drunk night. It's been a while. Now, okay, if you are going to drink, don't drive. And if you drive, don't drink. Be responsible. Don't use this as a reason that you go and act a fool because you watch Devin down in the woods. Terry writes, hold on, Hank. No one knows what she was drinking before the tower, and we don't know what happened after she left. Devin has had a troubled life. She needs big-time therapy. Now, you said the name of the bar. I did not. So the owner can't flip out and blame me for this in a town-wide Facebook rant about how awful I am. That was named in the comment section, not by me, okay? But I think we all knew exactly where she was at what establishment when someone said that they thought she was overserved. And you're absolutely right. We have no idea what state she went in the bar or what she did after she left. She could have used some drugs. She could have used drugs before, after, who knows? I will say this. While she was rolling around in the bushes and I was very close to her, I did not smell a ton of alcohol. And her mom and her sister were out there. And I specifically asked them, does she use drugs? What's going on with her? Is she a fentanyl addict? Like, is she using, have you ever known her to use pills in any way? Because a lot of times when you're dealing with alcohol incident and somebody's in that state and sweating and gross and rolling around on the ground, you can smell the whiskey or tequila, you could vodka, you could smell it. And a lot of times they throw up. So they'll have like puke in their hair while they're rolling around like her. And I did not smell alcohol in that form. But I also stood back a few feet because Devin is sketchy. I was not trying to get attacked by savage Devin running around and on her hands and knees growling at the cops. Lauren writes, yeah, VT Liquor Law says everyone from the server to the owner are liable. Fun stuff that people don't realize if they've never worked in food and beverage. Dana writes, this is what the state needs. Great job. She says, you didn't say the bar. You didn't say it. I didn't say it. It wasn't me. I didn't say it. Stand down. Stand down. Do not attempt to cancel Hank. It wasn't me. It was Terry. Terry said the name. Okay. Holy smokes. He said, don't drink and drive. So if you need help with alcoholism or drug addiction, you're also in a lot of trouble in Vermont. We don't have a lot of options. And we went over this in a previous podcast. Something like $140,000 for a 7-day detox program in this state, and another $50,000 for a 30-day program for sobriety. So I don't know what your plan is if you need help, but the plan definitely isn't get in with Vermont and try to get help. She says it's all Hank's fault. We need a purge. It's all Hank's fault. And that's really the essence of the Planet Hank live show, is that it's clearly always my fault. I am definitely guilty, and everything that I do is wrong. And that is why that I was canceled or attempted to be canceled by several news publications with 11 articles trashing every single thing about me out. And it's at this point, I'm just out the other side. I'm just out the other side living my life. I could just do whatever I want. And lately, whatever I want has been winning the chair for the Brattleboro Town Republican Committee. Everybody can give a cheer for that one. Give me my congratulations in the comments right now. Right? Hashtag Team Hank. Congratulations, Hank. And remember that you need to show up for the meetings in order to congratulate me properly. Okay? She said it's long overdue. Facts. It should have been. Casey McLean, 1,000%. She says you can't cancel Team Hank. Alex Lockey, my boy. Alex Lockey, my boy. He says, congrats, Hank. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I expect to see everybody at my meetings for Brattleboro Town Republican Committee. We hold them at the Rivertown Church on Burge Street, and they're usually the third Wednesday at 7 p.m. Third Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. This month, we have our Windham County reorganization meeting, and that'll be on the 25th. But I don't know what's going on with the next meeting, but I will tell you this. Our next event, October 18th, is going to be epic. This is going to be located in Chester, Vermont. On the green, they have a gazebo. I've been networking with Roy Spalding, who is the chair of the Chester Republican Committee. He came to my Constitution Day celebration, and we'll get into that. But we are planning an event. And what the premise of this event is the left, the protesters, are planning to protest in the gazebo. And Vermont Daily Chronicle just did a big article about their last protest. And you've got Becca White, who is out of her mind. She's one of the politicians for the state of Vermont. And she was screaming, F ICE, F ICE over a bullhorn throughout the town, and had this really nasty protest. And all of them went crazy, and they have a big picture on the news. And one of them said, their t-shirt wrote, "Is he dead yet?" across his chest. And then they had all these F ICE signs that they made up. And it was just a nasty protest. We've all seen it here. We've all seen it with the hands off and the King's protest. And every Friday they try some crap in front of the post office, screaming about this or that. And it's trashy, and they are in bad taste. And so the premise of our event is that we're going to take the stage, we're going to take the gazebo right after them, and we're going to hold a conservative event that's in line with our values and try to show some tact and some decorum and sort of have a town-wide event. And we're inviting some heavy hitters, and hopefully my friend from Turning Point USA will be there, and some of our reps from the state of Vermont will be speaking. I will be speaking center stage. It will be hosted by my friend Roy Spalding, the chair of the Chester group. So I'm expecting a bunch of us to drive up from Brattleboro. Chester's like 30 minutes away. It's not a big deal. And it's a small town, but it's very cute and nice. And it'll be in the middle of fall. It's on a Saturday. So there'll be all kinds of fall events and leaf peeping opportunities and everything. So our next event, October 18th, and we're going to have a better poster than this. I just threw this together a second ago. So from there, we have a huge show lined up for everybody today. And I absolutely always am so excited to do this show with you guys. And I'm going to go throw a couple things up for you. The Brattleboro News Recap Show, we all know it. It's the absolute finest form of entertainment, the absolute most superior podcast in the state of Vermont, and it's not even close.
Planet Hank Live, the absolute finest entertainment on the internet. Join us in fighting back against evil.
It's hotter than a blacktop in July, sweating like a sinner in a church, and I just wanna get out with my crew tonight and shoot at the lights. Got a couple 40s full of hops and fun, looking for a good time, gotta live it up. Leave behind the city, hop inside my truck. No, we don't give up. We're gonna paint the night red, hoot and holler till we're dead. We're down to turn up, we're up to get down, saying hey y'all.
I love that clip. I absolutely love that clip. It's so good. It's absolutely so good. The finest form of entertainment, and we know that. And so the Brattleboro News, the Planet Hank Live show, is widely supported by my sponsors. If you've got a business, an organization, an event, a message that you want to get out, it's imperative that you advertise and sponsor my efforts. If you are a patriot, if you stand for doing the right thing and trying to get your towns and your communities back on the right track, I'm asking for your support. This show is financed by some of the very best patriots in the land. They sponsor the show, they back me up, and I love them for that. And if you join and advertise with us and sponsor me, I will love you too. So a huge shout out to King's Electric, the finest residential and commercial electrical contractors in all of Vermont. They serve a huge area, all the surrounding communities. Josh and his crew are the absolute top of their game. There's nobody that you can trust more if you need to have electrical work done. I highly suggest getting over there, and guess what? They support Brattleboro. They're always trying to get involved with conversations to make their communities better, and they are patriots. Kresge's Alignment, my boy Mike Morio over on Canal Street. If you've got a car that needs some work, routine maintenance, anything, make sure you head over there and drop your vehicle off at Kresge's. Now, this guy and I, we don't politically line up all the time, but he said it like this: I support free speech, and the last thing I'm going to do is let people tell me what I'm going to do with my advertising dollars, because I believe in Hank, I believe in the truth, and Hank's telling the truth, and I love him for that. Shout out, Mike. And of course, we got the crew over at Rod's Towing and Repair, who support the heck out of me and absolutely always have my back. They are off exit 4 in Putney. I just had a big meeting up in Putney talking to the Republican caucus up there. There's been a number of high-profile news stories coming out of Putney, and the people in Putney are definitely very interested in some of the changes that they've seen and some of the nonsense creeping up from Brattleboro, exit 3, and they're very, very interested in keeping Putney from being the 4th exit of Brattleboro. And we got MOB, Pilot Car LLC, my boy Mike O'Brien, keeping the roadways safe. If they're towing big stuff, he's out front, making sure everybody knows. Huge shout out to Mike, always supporting me. He always supports me, hooks me up. He sponsors our True Patriots, and shout out to everybody else supporting me behind the scenes, contributing to my efforts and the work that I do behind the scenes. It's not just I appreciate so much, and I have so many people supporting me in so many different ways. Let me throw this out off of there. So let's get right in to the rest of the show. I love doing this show, by the way. And so I've got this video segment, and I'm going to play it for you now.
Political position advocating are leftists arming themselves despite their political position advocating for gun control.
Guns are intensely political.
Why is left-wing violence so prevalent in America?
Gun sales in America reached record highs at the beginning of the pandemic and have continued after ongoing political and racial violence across the country has led more Americans to question their own safety.
Why do those on the left want your guns gone, but theirs loaded for justice?
Breaking news out of Dallas, Texas. All of this connected to a shooting there at a Dallas ICE facility.
Is leftism a blueprint for bloodlust? Is their ideology a manifesto? Let's take a deeper look at political violence in America.
So, obviously, we've seen the news. We've seen all of the bloodshed, the shootings, the assassinations, the stabbings, and just the arguments online. Liberals are stocking up on guns. And that goes against some of their core beliefs and stuff that we've had to deal with for years, listening to them call for gun control and thinking that they should ban guns altogether, especially assault rifles. And now it's shifting. Liberals are stocking up on guns, not for hunting, but to fuel their unhinged Civil War fantasies. They love the concept that they're gonna fight back, that they're going to assassinate people, that they're going to do something and get it done. Leftism is a mental illness manifesto screaming for violence. They love it. There's been so many killings. And for instance, like when Luigi Manganiello, or whatever his name is, killed the CEO, they idolize this guy. They say he's so hot. They're like openly saying that they want to sleep with this guy, and we're sending him stuff to the jails and making tributes to him online on all of their weird leftist websites and everything else. Their Civil War fetish. Tons of posts all over X show leftists drooling over revolutionary shootouts. So just the other day, was it yesterday? They had a shooting at the ICE facility in Dallas, Texas. And so I posted J.D. Vance, our vice president's comments that he made to a crowd in North Carolina discussing it and saying that a lot of the violence is coming from the left and it's irredeemable and it's got to stop, and it's leftist, crazed militants doing the killings. Immediately, I mean, even on my post, you can go check it, there's a bunch of leftists who start defending this. Start in on their whataboutism. What about that time years ago that a right-winger did something? What about January 6th? They're obsessed with trying to bring it back to January 6th. We've had hundreds of riots and situations since January 6th. That can't be your cover for every violent act politically that you do for years and years ago. What about January 6th? And then they attack, and they attack, and they attack, and you call them out on it. Well, what about that time at January 6th? So we did it. And what aboutism? It's gone crazy. And then they have shirts, and they 86-47, and they went out and did all of this stuff. And James Comey has now been charged with crimes officially right before this podcast came out. So I'm going to have to get into the actual reports and stuff, but he has been charged. But his comments of 86-47, he tweeted it out, and the left loves it. We all know what 86 means. It means nix it, get it off of there, kill it. If you're like a waitress or you are removing something, remove 47. Remove Trump. Kill Trump. That's what the big controversy was about. Mentally ill liberals openly plot to execute fascists. It's a tactic that they use to try to label anybody who they don't agree with a name that somehow justifies their attacks. We've all heard them. You're a Nazi. You're a fascist. You're a racist. You're a misogynist. And they do it all the time. And what that is an attempt to categorize you in such a way that somehow when they attack you, they are justified, that you deserve that. They're so hyped up by their violent manifesto that it's mental illness just boiling over. And then they get justified, and their leaders call people Nazis. We've seen it here in Vermont. Becca Balin calling people Gestapo, brown shirt Nazis. Trump has his own army of Nazis. It's a delusion of retribution. They're not prepping for defense. It's revenge porn against Trump. They want to pay us back. They want to get us back. Trump teased them. The right teased them. And they have been foaming at the mouth since his first term. It's never been like it has. Since we had Trump, the division and the anger and the TDS, this country was never like that. Their hypocrisy is exposed. They cry for gun control while arming for their apocalyptic wet dreams. Leftists want your guns gone, but theirs loaded for justice. And we all know it. Blue cities are crime waves. They're dangerous. We just saw the stabbing. I just did the segment last podcast about the stabbing on the subway. And they all come up with excuses. They all try to cover it up. These news stories get revoked from mainstream media if it wasn't for conservative sources playing it on repeat. It took weeks for it to get picked up. Levitt had to beg for it in a press conference. And if it was reversed, we talked about this, if it was reversed from skin color, if it was a white person stabbing a black person on the subway, there would have been race riots. There would have been burnt cities. Leftist manifesto madness. Leftism is a blueprint for bloodlust. And I'm going to read some comments. Write some comments if you have it. So, I think that it's important for people to wake up because they're arming themselves. And the more things that happen that make our temperature rise and get more radical, the more you're going to see small events, different ways that people could attack you verbally, physically, with weapons, without weapons, and it gets normalized. It gets normalized. I've been attacked 4 times myself, and I'm trying to keep that down. So we had our Constitution Day celebration last week, and we had to hire a bunch of extra security. We had a uniformed police officer there with his lights on. People were nervous because of what I'm talking about now. And there'll be a whole bunch of people trying to deny that this exists. There's nothing to worry about. Lauren Tiller writes, the funny thing is, Nazism is a left-wing ideology. And they're obsessed with calling everybody Nazis. Everybody's a Nazi and yada, yada, yada. Justin Sims says, I'm mad as fuck. Hemorrhoids aren't called asteroids. Major miss by all of us. I can agree with that. I think that we can all get on board with that. He goes, you're a threat to democracy. I agree. He goes, liberals have bumped their heads. Todd writes, I'll have to catch up with tomorrow morning. She said, I always thought they'd drag out guillotines. Color me surprised, I guess. Thanks for the stars. Sherry D, Jeff Bush, thank you so much. Gyroscoping Norwal writes, I miss Brattleboro from 15 years ago. Here's a good question right here. Casey McLean writes, what if ICE identifies as a non-binary group and a nonprofit group, humanitarian relocation group? Yeah, then they should be good, right? Leslie Powers writes, it's Hank's fault. And I agree with you. It's definitely my fault. This is all my fault. And now I'm going to segue right into the next segment perfectly because it's all planned, you know. I plan these things. I plan them. So let's talk about my Constitution Day celebration. It was a major success. People left there rejuvenated, excited. We had a big crowd. Over 150 people showed up. We rocked out. The band Intercept was there. Americans for Prosperity, shout out. Absolutely thank you for picking up all the tab for people's drinks and food, and everybody who came out, everybody had a huge smile on their face. If you missed it, don't worry. There's a whole bunch more. I've got so much more on the way, including October 18th in Chester, but we're going to have a bunch of events. So here's a little video about it.
absolutely so talented. That was amazing. Thank you. Give it up for the USA, 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 USA. That's right. We're going to keep this energy up. We're going to support each other. I better see everybody at my next event in Brattleboro and the Windham County GOP meeting and everything else that I come up with. Thank you all. I'm humbled, and that was awesome.
Thank you very much for including us. Thank you, everyone. Drive safely. Thank you for coming out.
Loved it. Loved that. That was so much fun. I love seeing all the older people rocking out to that band. You see the pyrotechnics? Are you kidding me? We're going to try to breathe some air back into, get it on the right track. This mentally ill attack everybody left is losing people by the millions across this country. Nobody can back up what they're doing. So we were in the Reformer, and there was already a whole war about what everybody thinks about me, what they don't think about me, and thank you very much. And I said this at the event, so everybody knows it. Thank you very much for backing me up online and supporting me when people get trashy and say all kinds of crazy stuff. We need to stick together. We are not asking them to come to our events or agree with anything that we're saying, but what we're not going to do is let them attack us and shut down our events. We are going to build our group. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to say what we think. That's what this country's all about. The First Amendment. I'm not dealing with no. Just leave us alone. We are going to build up and have our own groups. So the leftist media, including the Brattleboro Reformer, often mischaracterizes right-wing voices like mine. They unfairly label us as racist, bigoted, or whatever for challenging their leftist policies. We saw it with the Commons, and they took, it was 70 screenshots of mine, and they were all crazy, and there was a couple that were bad, but then droning on with get out of here. Leave us alone. This misrepresentation parallels national examples like Charlie Kirk, and we've all seen it. And then people started getting fired for doing it. Now that y'all assassinated Charlie Kirk, people are having it when you trash him out online, okay? You go and trash him out, and I have a story coming out about a school teacher up in Barrie who's been way too vocal about the whole thing. I'm just starting to understand that Barrie, Vermont is insanely radicalized, and there's a ton of action going on up there between left-wing and right-wing people colliding. Left-wing dissent and extremism is portrayed inaccurately to silence conservative viewpoints. Facts. They somehow play this game and get media to back them up, that they're justified. And of course, everything that the conservatives are saying is terrible and come up with these labels. We talked about this before. They create these labels like when Hillary called everybody a deplorable, that it makes it so that you're irredeemable, that you have no value, and that you deserve to be attacked, that you deserve these things. But now, when their side does it, when they say nasty, irredeemable stuff about Charlie Kirk and got fired, all of a sudden they don't want to play that game anymore. Disagreement with a radical leftist is legitimate and popular, especially around the issues of free speech, public safety, and economic responsibility. Americans for Prosperity has hosted 3 local events in Vermont recently. My constitution Seen on economic affordability and fiscal responsibility, and a voter engagement meeting aiming to strengthen Republican turnout and local activism. And the three events contrasted each other so much. Ours was like a party. The one in Barrie was more like a really formal and intense discussion where people could ask lawmakers specific questions that they were concerned with. And the meeting on the 16th was very calm and had some legislators that you don't usually hear from giving some talking about affordability in the state. The different formats are very important. In our state, we have a fluctuation of who's here and how your message is going to get to them. That's always a different way. If you're very old, you're going to want the traditional way, a talking event, and the issues that resonate with you are not exactly going to be the issues that resonate with the younger 20-year-old crowd. Like talking about property tax increases might not hit home for super young generations that don't own any properties. Yes, when property tax increases, the cost of renting somewhere increases. But it still isn't the same as most people's homes. So there was a bunch of people protesting in Barrie. The AFP event was in a building, and about a block away on the Commons at their gazebo, they had this protest, and they were yelling over the bullhorn, "Vermont is not for sale. Vermont is not for sale," and went wild screaming about Americans for Prosperity and trying to label them as this dark money organization that was trying to buy Vermont. The big problem is the left has several organizations that dumps millions of dollars into candidates and interest projects in this state. They have already been bought. VPIRG, LGBT Freedom Fund, the Vermont Conservatory. There's tons of them. There's tons of them. Very hypocritical, and it just shows you the average leftist doesn't even know what they're talking about. They just go with whatever it is, and they will go out there and protest. We saw that with the Milk with Dignity protest, where they bust in a bunch of kids from one of the schools in Putney, and none of them knew what they were there for or cared. They just wanted to bang on drums and hold up signs and make it look like they had to have a meeting to tell everybody what they were protesting. It wasn't something they were passionate about. They didn't all organize. They basically bust in their people to hold up signs. And then when that protest was over, we went out and handed out milk, and they all took the milk and were drinking it. It's like, you don't even know what you're here for. Let's read some comments. Patrick Lorenzo says, "Yo, what up, brother?" Maureen Spicer says, "That was one hell of a night. Got to do that again." Mass hysteria. Absolutely. Brian Massey Jr. goes, "If you think Barrie is radical, it's more like all of Washington County." Oh, yes. And when you're down here in Brattleboro, Vermont, which is on the very southern end of Vermont for people who aren't from this state who are watching, because there's a lot of you, this state's kind of like split. There's the Green Mountains in the middle. So up by Burlington and the upper northwestern portion, it's a lot of people. It's highly condensed people. And then down here in Brattleboro, all the people down here. And a lot of times we forget about each other. Some of the issues, it's almost like the state is split. And a lot of the topics are secluded from each other. Vermont Republicans crushed the Democrats' supermajority like a bug during the last elections, finally giving liberal policies a reality check. So basically, let's get down here and talk about this. So here's a quick lesson in how supermajorities and veto overrides work in politics in here in Vermont. Vermont Democrats losing their supermajority means that they can no longer override Republican Governor Phil Scott's vetoes on their own. To override a veto, both legislative chambers need a 2/3 majority vote. So what had been happening for years here, and this is how they got our safe injection site passed in Burlington, is they go to float a bill, they pass a bill, and then it goes to the governor's desk, and he vetoes it. He said, no, we're not having a safe injection site. So then they go back and they re-vote on it and override, because they have so many progressive Democrats that they override the veto and get their way. And when they did that for the safe injection site, they're all like bumping fists and everything. And they went out and really started overriding the vetoes right before the elections. So now we gained so much ground in the Republican Party, they can no longer override a governor's veto. They don't have the votes. They don't have the power. And that is huge. So a lot of people complaining about Phil Scott not doing what, being a rhino and not doing what he needs to for the state of Vermont, this gives him enough power that he can actually fight back and hold the line for the Republicans and maybe start acting a little more Republican. Without the supermajority, Democrats must get some Republican support to push legislation past the governor, and that's not really going to happen. The power shift means more bipartisan deal-making and less one-party rule, which is absolutely vital to Vermont. And we have a lot of work to do, and we're going to win big during next year's election. We definitely are going to gain some ground, but we have to come together, and we have to keep outing the politicians who are voting against our best interests. I always bring this up. I always talk about Wendy Harrison, our senator here from Windham County. She votes against our best interest, and she does so by voting to increase homelessness spending, the hotel voucher program, decriminalizing drugs, decriminalizing prostitution, and voting yes to tons of spending for climate change initiatives. We are broke. The hotel voucher program has destroyed Brattleboro. Everybody knows that. It has acted like a magnet for bad behavior. Drug addiction, crime, just miserable disasters in these people's lives. Drugs destroys people's families and lives, overdoses, and just turns them into people who steal and rob and commit crimes. And our bill for public safety and first responders to these hotels is astronomical. So if you're supposed to be a representative of this county, how can you say that vote represents the people here? Because it doesn't. That vote was bought and paid for by whoever funded her campaign, which was thousands and thousands of dollars. And what they do when they give you big bucks like that for your campaign is that they are buying your vote. They bought her vote, Wendy Harrison, and had her in their pocket. And this has to stop. All of you with children and all of you who've been victimized and had problems and have seen the chaos in the streets and watched the Brattleboro news and are like, no, we don't want this. We want our communities to be better. We want our quality of life to increase. This is it. This is how to do it. I'm literally laying it out for you. I'm showing you how they voted and showing you that they have been bought to vote against your best interests. It's very simple. We have mail-in ballots here. You can just go down and vote at the Legion if you're in Brattleboro and all of these other places. All you have to do is vote correctly, and that crap is gone. And I think a lot of you know about that. And we will be talking about that specifically at this event, October 18th. October 18th, Chester, Vermont. I will be speaking. There'll be several other speakers. We secured this venue directly after the protesters. Like, they are protesting, and we went directly after them. Ashley Ann writes, I stopped working at the restaurants in town due to crime. That's sad. That is super sad. We just had a conversation about Scissor Masters and Lisa Shippey, and she cited the main reason that she's shutting her business down is the drug crime. People sit on her stairways and shoot up every single night. She's sick of it. She said, I'm too old to deal with this every day. And all my customers are scared to come down here. Some very quick fixes if you guys want to change the town. Wono writes, great job on WDEV radio with Rob Roper. I heard that the listeners who called in with questions for you needed Band-Aids because you're so sharp. Now that's a comment. Now that is a compliment, a very much needed compliment. And I don't get very many compliments, not often enough. So it's appreciated, finally. We're dealing with an era in this state where cost of living has gotten out of control. It's absolutely ridiculous out there. Cost of living is outrageous. Nobody can make it in this climate. Not in this state. Average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Brattleboro is about $1,150 to $1,650 per month. A two-bedroom apartment costs roughly $1,400 to $1,600 monthly, and I think that is low. I think that we're talking more like $2,000, up to $2,400. The average salary for a 25-year-old in Brattleboro is $40,000, $45,000 per year. And I would love to know where they're getting $45,000 in Brattleboro at 25 years old, because I'm not buying it. But this is an average, so I'm sure that there's some high-paying gigs for people who did everything right, got a degree in engineering, and work at one of these big companies over there on Industrial Ave. This means 30 to 40% of their income goes just to rent, which is above the recommended housing cost limit. Way above it. Way above it. Vermont's quality of life index is moderate, but declining for young people due to high costs, stagnant wages, fewer economic opportunities. There's no opportunities here. There's none. The American dream is gone. And this is where you see this generational warfare go on. A lot of the older people will say stuff like, well, this new generation, they're lazy and they don't want to work and they won't do anything right. And it's hard for me not to say, but look, what opportunity are they getting? Honestly, what opportunity are they getting? And why would they bust their butt all day in their whole life to work to get no opportunity? They're not going to get houses. They're not going to save up and get nice cars. They're broke. Look at the rents. Look at the cost of groceries. Much tax revenue funds expensive climate programs and strict energy codes. Property taxes in Brattleboro increased about 8 to 12% recently, with a median tax bills around $1,450. To fund climate change? Like, are you kidding me? We spend $350 million a year in Vermont on climate change. Another $161 million on homelessness. That's $500 million. And people can't afford rent, can't afford groceries, and can't get a job. And then we're wondering why all the kids are taking off. And they're not going to rural communities like Vermont. They're going to New Jersey and Texas and Florida to get jobs that will pay them and places that they can rent that aren't astronomical for a rundown Victorian apartment with no insulation, no windows, terrible parking, No trash removal. In Brattleboro, you got to buy like little pink bags for $5 and $10 to throw your trash out. It's ridiculous. What are you paying property taxes? Huge increases for, so that we can send it to nonprofit organizations, so we can waste it on climate change, waste it on all these BS liberal spending. People in Vermont are sick of it. Younger Vermonters face shrinking job markets, rising house prices, and heavier tax burdens compared to past generations. And this causes this divide and generational warfare. It really does. This causes people to resent each other's generations. And I've seen it all over online, where there's memes going around and kids share them about how boomers bought their houses for $20 back in 1970 and then sold them for $5 million now and did nothing. He said, move to a red state, creepo, taffy, Latascas. Okay. Rents wouldn't be this high, but taxes, electric, oil, WAS, doubled. She goes, look at Wendy in Bellows Falls. She is a big mess. Google her name. Cover up girl. Yeah, when she was the town manager, everybody hated her. She says rent prices around her are insane, especially compared to quality housing. Blaine says, what up? Last Wednesday was awesome. Ashley Ann writes, I was constantly harassed, screamed at, threatened while walking to my car with my dinner that I worked all night for. Yeah, they want you to give them everything and your shirt off your back, your dinner out of your hands. Says, move to a red state, creepo, and here it is. Perfect. The comment goes directly to what we're talking about. We have ourselves our first libtard of the night. Okay, and let's celebrate it. Let's let some comments reel into the comment section, specifically for Taffy. And the concept that we should all leave. We all got to get out of here because they got Vermont just the way they like it. They like all of the policy breakdowns. They like the fentanyl. They like the women saying that they don't feel safe in their communities. They can't walk to their car. They're constantly getting harassed. They love that. They love the cost of apartments skyrocketing, taxes skyrocketing. They love it. It's a style for them. The left's entire ideology is we are mad about Trump. They have nothing else to say. Everything else that they've ever done has been a failure. And Vermont is at the lowest it's ever been. Pride in this state is non-existent. People are not bragging about being from Vermont, not like they used to decades ago. Lauren Tiller writes, no thanks, Taffy. Some of us like him here. The thing that we're finding out, the more work that I do, the more I get involved with Vermont, the vast majority of people like me here. The only people who don't like me here, and it was said on several different podcasts, the only people who are mad about my news are people who are addicted to drugs. And the only leftists that hate me and just want me gone, it's because their mental illness is boiling over and they can't help but try to get violent and angry about it. The words and the truth that I say about your leftist elected officials voting against the best interests of our communities, voting for vouchers and decriminalizing drugs, decriminalizing prostitution, and increasing the cost of living across the board. Everybody's tired. The only people who can defend that stuff are mentally ill, angry, violent leftists who don't pay attention. And the reason that Wendy supports costly policies is because she is receiving backing from radical green organizations. It's all about the money, baby. He says, no, I agree. See how a conservative state operates. It's better. Trust me. Go on, get out and report back. Republicans fight for tax relief, rolling back harmful mandates, and promoting real economic opportunities. That's all it is. Thank you for the super sticker, $20 from Blair. Huge shout out to everybody as we creep over 200 live viewers across all platforms. And I know that we're dying off on commie Facebook because of censorship. And we all know it's been all over the news. They're so mad. They're so mad at conservatives for telling and teaching and saying, hey, look, everything that you guys vote for is wrong and you're driving the cost of living through the roof. Let's look at some costs of apartments under liberal Democratic leadership. $2,000 for one bedroom. Look at this right here. $1,450 for 47 Flat Street. That's the Do It block. That's the same building that I just had a news story this summer come out of the National Guard and the Vermont Drug Task Force raiding it. They had helicopters. They have police intervention there daily. That's right in the pit. There was a murder on the front steps last summer. That is the worst place to live in all of Brattleboro. $1,450 a month to have your life ruined in the worst area you could possibly live in the state of Vermont. $2,500 on Brook Street, 2 bedrooms, $2,500 a month for 2 bedrooms. These people are out of their minds. They're out of their minds. And then they have the balls to call us Nazis, racists, as they ruin our communities. It's an ideology of hate. They need to come up with a way to discuss why everybody opposing their ideas is nasty and despicable. And when they attack them, they're justified. Meanwhile, conservatives are just sitting back going, why are you decriminalizing drugs, prostitution? Why are you spending all this money on hotel vouchers and wasting it in climate change initiatives for your cronies in a state that has no impact on global climate? We have no impact. They love the concept of brave little state. We're going to lead the world in climate initiatives. What good does that do when the cost of living skyrockets to $2,500 a month rent for a crappy, rundown 2-bedroom apartment in a 150-year-old house with no insulation and the windows and roof haven't been replaced since the 1950s? What good is all that rhetoric when that's how you live? She writes, if you don't like what he does, but still watch what he's doing, you're a fan. Blair, shout out. Thank you for the stars on Facebook as well. So Blair's been, he says, F lefties. And I know a lot of people agree with that. I know a lot of people are starting to feel that. Lauren Tiller writes, they should focus on holding big polluters accountable. Looks at China. Exactly. Exactly. You want to get involved in climate change stuff? There's nothing wrong with that. But if your whole plan is to redline the cost of living in the state of Vermont to unlivable, untenable levels, to jack up all the taxes for everybody working their butts off in this state, trying to make it, that's a ridiculous viewpoint. That is hate speech. You hate Vermont if that's what you think that people should be paying for. Paying to waste money because you want to play save the world when you have no effect on the climate at all. So our next topic is absolutely hilarious. This one here, oh my God. Okay, so this story here has been blowing up all over all of the social medias, especially TikTok. People are roasting this topic. I love this topic. Oh my God, I love this topic. And so I'm going to play a video and then we'll talk about it.
Tylenol. There's no downside. Don't take Tylenol. There's no downside. Don't take it. You'll be uncomfortable. It won't be as easy, maybe, but don't take it. If you're pregnant, don't take Tylenol. And don't give it to the baby after the baby is born. And you know what? We have
about to take Tylenol for my headache while pregnant because I don't take my medical advice from a man who doesn't have a degree in science, healthcare, or medicine, and who had a parasitic brain infection and was addicted to heroin for 14 years. Yeah, I'll trust my doctors who have their degree.
And they probably tell you that don't take Tylenol unless you need to.
28 weeks pregnant. You know what I'm gonna take? Some Tylenol, acetaminophen. It's gonna work like a charm, and my baby won't have autism.
Don't take Tylenol. There's no downside.
Trump says, don't take Tylenol. There's no downside. Don't take it. President Trump and RFK Jr. have stirred controversy by linking Tylenol's active ingredient to pregnancy, taken during pregnancy, to autism. Trump warned pregnant women to fight like hell, not to take Tylenol unless absolutely necessary. Pushing FDA to advise doctors on risk through no causal link has been proven. It is absolutely hilarious. This stance flies in the face of decades of medical consensus, which holds acetaminophen as safe for pregnant women as used responsibly. Kennedy, known as a vaccine skeptic, joins Trump in challenging conventional science, pushing for new autism research, funding, and suggesting alternative treatments. The left has reacted with a meltdown. It's crazy. Anytime he tells anything, they immediately just go crazy doing the exact opposite. I mean, we saw it in the video. They're just, okay, so now they're just going to take as much Tylenol as they possibly can. Cheryl writes, old Vermont is gone. She said, I thought it was just common sense not to take Tylenol and pregnant. I was told by my doctor 13 years ago. Yeah. And Tylenol tweeted, and they took the tweet that said, you know, don't take it if you're pregnant. We do not recommend it. And this is just this huge meltdown, and you can just hear the nastiness. They hate RFK Jr. They hate him. You see it in some of those hearings where they just go after him and say the nastiest stuff about him and trash him out. It has me dying. Like, I think it's so funny listening to Trump say, don't take Tylenol. And then first thing they do is a bunch of pregnant lefties up on TikTok posting about how much Tylenol they're going to take. And, it's not going to cause autism, Like, how dare you? Why would you just take a bunch of Tylenol for no reason? It makes no sense. You're definitely not supposed to be taking medication when you're pregnant unless you desperately need it. The left's called it fear-mongering and spreading misinformation. Good thing we're out of the era of the little bubbles down below that said misinformation, or we would get one. Remember when Facebook was doing that over COVID? And then they had to pedal that all back. Crazy time. Medical experts worldwide and Tylenol's maker have called out these claims as unsubstantiated, potentially harmful, reaffirming existing safety guidelines. The latest controversy serves as a reminder questioning established science often ignites cultural wars, with politics coloring discussions on public health. Crazy. So in 1982, 7 people died from cyanide-laced Tylenol capsules, leading to nationwide panic and a new tamper-proof packaging law. Crazy. Fighting over Tylenol. She said, I saw something about 20-something-year-olds taking a ton to prove a point. She's pregnant and hooked up to machines because in her quest, she put herself into organ failure and is dying. Not sure how accurate that was, but geez, how would any mother risk her child's safety to prove a point? And that's just it. Their hatred for Donald Trump outweighs anything else in their lives, including their own children. They're so mad about Trump and so mad about RFK. And I think that the whole reason is because Trump teased him and RFK joined Trump's cabinet and was a Democrat. Anything that they say, including don't take Tylenol when you're pregnant, now they're just going to take a ton of Tylenol while they're pregnant. God forbid they birth the child with autism or they have some kind of complication or something goes wrong. Why would you risk that? It's ridiculous. The whole thing's ridiculous. And then it's hilarious because Tylenol's own Twitter account, own X account says we actually do not recommend taking it when you're pregnant. And this is sort of what we're dealing with the left. They're nuts. They're out of their mind. There it is. There's their tweet. All the way from 2017. We actually don't recommend using any of our products while pregnant. Thank you for taking the time to voice your concerns today. Classic. It's classic. I mean, how ridiculous you have to be. How much of just a mental midget, like a child, do you have to be? And I know the left loves the concept of abortions and all of this, but come on. You're going to birth the child and you're just going to take a bunch of Tylenol. Why? Why are you people like this? If Trump said that breathing was good for you, they'd be out there holding their breath. They would be out there protesting oxygen. They're literally going to be protesting around in the near future, holding bottles of Tylenol and having Tylenol written on their signs. They will. I guarantee you that we hear about this again. This is not the end of the Tylenol. This will be a protest somewhere along the line. Someone's going to go crazy with a bottle of Tylenol, a protest for it. She said now they have to cancel Tylenol. Putting your child at risk because you dislike one man is absolutely insane. They should not be mothers. And that's really a valid comment right there. Should DCF be looking into a situation where a mother acts like this? We have a situation in Brattleboro where some of our drug abusers down in Flat Street are pregnant and they have children, and DCF is all over it. And as soon as the child's born, the state takes the child away from the mother, and it's a big controversy, and it's sad. It's so sad. And I think that this topic of taking drugs while you're pregnant, I mean, it just sort of kind of airs in the same dynamic of using a bunch of illegal drugs. I don't know if it's as bad, though. Using a bunch of fentanyl and you're addicted and you're going to get your baby taken away. I mean, it makes you wonder what's going on in their head. Purposely taking Tylenol because they're mad about Trump. What kind of mother does that? She said they already did hold their breath with the stupid mandatory masking. Yes, they did. And they had 2 masks on. Remember that? There was a whole phase of like the superiority of the liberals who would wear like a paper mask with a cloth mask over it. Like somehow they're like better than you because they have several masks on for like years after everybody else took their masks off. I still see some of them sometimes with their masks on. I'm like, back to the fentanyl topic with pregnant women. I could see a policy where they put the mother in jail in some sort of protective custody for the child so that they can get her off the street and lock her up so that they can ensure that that child that is 7.5 months grown already with a month and a half to go until birth, that they can guarantee that they're not going to be poisoned by opioids and crack cocaine and cigarettes and everything else. Robert Kenny writes, progressive liberals live in a fantasy world filled with rainbows, unicorns, and marshmallow pies, and now Tylenol. And now Tylenol. Moving on. I've got a ton of topics tonight, but that one has me dead. Hilarious. Don't take Tylenol. Next story ticked a lot of people off, so watch the video and tell me what you think, and then we'll get into it.
Police received a report of a naked man walking along Putney Road wearing only an orange hat. The individual was identified as John Oja, who was previously arrested earlier this year for the unlawful restraint of a young girl at the Quality Inn. Brattleboro police responded to a parent's worst nightmare. Camera footage shows the young female child being lured into Oja's hotel room and the door closing. Oja has a documented history of inappropriate and criminal behavior. Officers responded to the scene, detained Oja, and transported him to the Colonial Inn off Putney Road. The Brattleboro Police Department urges the public to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity.
So there you have it. Like, are you kidding me right now? So that reel right there went viral. So many views on it. It ticked off the whole community. The Vermont justice system with their revolving door BS. How is that guy not in jail? How is he not in jail? And how are we dealing with a set of laws where it's okay for someone to go out and be completely naked in public? And when they were arguing this statute and arguing that people should be allowed to be naked in public, we're dealing with a bunch of people talking about how, well, why is it okay for men to be out in public with their shirts off, but women are not allowed to be out in public with their shirts off? Like, you see a lot of women walking out around with their shirts off and their tits hanging out? Because I don't. That's not what we're dealing with. So, using your argument, what you've done is have a child molester out here walking around naked, and now the police couldn't even do anything. There was no charges brought against him. Thankfully, our officers cuffed him and brought him back to his hotel room. She said, who pays for his hotel? Wendy Harrison. Wendy Harrison has your pocketbook, your credit card and tax money on it, and she's sending it over to the hotels. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And embarrassing. As I was standing there filming, our female police officer, Officer Lopez, and several of our male officers had to be exposed, including myself, exposed to this wacko and his private parts all over the place, right off Putney Road. And as I look over my shoulder at the hair salon that's right there in the marina parking lot, there's like a freaking 7-year-old boy in the window. Like, what's going on? Why are there all these lights out here? So I went and knocked on the door and told the mother, I was like, hey, look, you do not want your kid anywhere near this. This guy is no good. And so she got her kid away from the window, and she was actually nice enough because John didn't even have any clothes with him. He didn't have it. He left the house like that. And I know that, oh, well, in Vermont, if you leave the house that way, okay, that's ridiculous. He didn't even have any clothes with him at all. He was headed down. He said he was going to the park. You're going to the park? That's a ridiculous thing to say when you're naked. First of all, you shouldn't be in the parks at all. The parks are for children and families. Not for you to be smoking crack and being naked. The man has been arrested for lewd and lascivious activity. He got arrested for sitting in the woods naked, jerking off years ago. And a bunch of kids found him and called the cops. And it was exposed and saw everything. It was disgusting. And then in the video, it tells you that, you know, he lured that little girl, and he was naked, into his room wearing nothing but a towel. And she was in that room for several minutes with the door closed. Who knows what happened? Who knows what happened? He sent the other kid away. That kid's too young to know what happened. And now he's out on pretrial, unlawful restraint of a 3-year-old girl. Shout out to Roy and the security staff at the Quality Inn who were on top of their game and made sure to get up there and get that kid. And the police for showing up quickly and taking John Oja out of there. The Vermont justice system needs an overhaul. This is crazy. They have watered down our laws, watered down the ability for these courthouses to actually keep anybody in jail. They've tried to chop all the funding. So we have we have a problem here. A repeat violent offender in Barrie gets a sweetheart plea deal. Original charges included multiple felonies, embezzlement, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, forgery, and resisting arrest. Prosecutors dismissed or downgraded nearly everything, turned a violent felony assault into a misdemeanor. Sentence, just 36 days in jail, credited as time served plus probation. State law says probation's purpose is rehabilitation, not punishment. Fine on paper, but in practice, completely failing. Fast forward, the same rehabilitated man violated his probation 4 times. The police go to arrest him on the warrant, and he violently resists again. One officer suffers a broken hand trying to fight this guy as he's diving out of the window, and they had to fight him for 6 minutes. The cop was out of work for weeks with a broken hand, and the department is already short-staffed. Officers paying the price for the broken system. And now he's back facing new felony charges, assault on officers, resisting arrest, impeding public officials, rinse, repeat, and cycle. Catch and release is not rehabilitation. It's enabling criminal behavior. If you have no consequences, why stop? Why stop being a criminal? Why not fight the cops? Who cares, right? You're just going to reduce your violent felonies to misdemeanors and throw it out of court. So the police morale in Barrie is crushed. This is Chief Norma Hardy's biggest fear. This decimated the Burlington Police Department. Officers who just say, you know what? F this, I'm going to go to a state where I can get a job as a police officer that makes sense, where I get treated with respect, and when I go out and put myself at risk to make an arrest, that they go to jail and they get punished and the court backs me up. It's not justice. This is politics and ideology overriding common sense. We have to deal with that. We have activists, liberal activists, progressive, crazy people with mental illness shooting up the whole country, and over here saying, we want to defund the police. We want to underfund our jails. People shouldn't go to jail for this. One officer summed it up. Vermont has forgotten accountability. Minority of criminals are ruling the majority of citizens. It's time to stand up and to hold offenders accountable. It's so rare. How many people do you know who actually go to jail when they do something wrong in Vermont? Nobody. She said those guys deserve a medal. She said, where did this guy come from talking about John Oja? Is he a Brattleboro native? Lauren Tiller writes, every time I see a video of Oja, I half expect him to tell someone it puts the lotion on its skin. Exactly who you're dealing with. And the more times our broken justice system just lets him out with a slap on the wrist, they're gambling. They're shooting the dice with somebody's family member, somebody's personal safety at risk. Somebody's kid is going to get raped, is going to get murdered. And I have a big story coming out about the murder that we had on Flat Street last summer. And this revolving door. This kid, Levatus, robbed or attempted to rob at knife point the Gulf Station on Canal Street. And a week later, after being released for a major crime involving a knife, he murders someone with a knife. What kind of justice system is that? And I'm in close contact with the victim's mother, who is devastated, absolutely devastated. And this is what we get with this type of justice system, with a bunch of progressive activists parading down our streets and parading down to the Legion to go and vote for Wendy Harrison to defund the police and decriminalize prostitution and drugs, to absolutely stab all of us in the back and go against all of our best interests. It's all of our best interests. Ridiculous. Now I got all fired up over that one. And now the left is going wild all over our country. President Trump formally designated Antifa a terrorist organization. Let's get into this. So if you don't know what Antifa is, it's this group of lefties, and they love to label themselves as justified. Oh, well, we're against fascism. Except everything that they're doing is fascist. So Trump formally designated Antifa a domestic terrorist organization through executive order, directing the Department of Justice and federal agencies to prioritize prosecuting Antifa under existing laws. Legal distinction. The U.S. law lacks a statutory category for domestic terrorist organization. So Trump's order is largely symbolic, but still gives marching orders to agencies. Executive direction empowers federal law enforcement, Department of Justice, DHS, to target Antifa aggressively with current statutes. Conspiracy, RICO, terrorism. Push to formally classify Antifa as a foreign terrorist organization, FTO, is underway, which would trigger broader sanctions and criminal penalties, such as material support crimes, travel bans, asset freezes, and everything. So, okay. It's been a long time coming. With what they did in LA, what they've been doing in all of these mostly peaceful riots that they have. They all wear black, they put masks on, and they all dress the same so they can all stand next to each other. And it's very hard to distinguish which person commits the crime. So they go out and they throw something at an officer or shoot a gun or throw a Molotov cocktail. Then they all go back and mix all up so that nobody knows which specific person actually committed the crime. And we've seen this play out for years and years and years. So they're officially a terrorist organization here in the United States. But in order to get this to really start to fight back against them, if we could get them as a foreign terrorist organization, then these companies, like, for instance, social media sites, YouTube, all of these sites that they have big platforms on, that they make money on, it would become a liability for Facebook and YouTube to pay them money. They would lose all their statuses. We would start to see this eradicated from our country in the way that it needs to be eradicated. They love to label themselves as on the right side of all of the arguments, virtue signaling, that somehow when they act violent and lash out at people, that it isn't terrible and it isn't violence and it's somehow justified. It's not justified. It never is. They assassinated Charlie Kirk. They had a bunch of engravings on the shooter's casings. They shot up the ICE facility. They threw rocks and burned cars and attacked ICE agents. all over Portland and Los Angeles. I read all kinds of attacks that these people have been doing. And every time they make it that they're fighting for immigrants or they're fighting for the genocide, and it's always some way that they try to justify by labeling and incorrectly labeling themselves on the right side of the argument. We're justified to use violence against the police or against anybody who speaks against us, and assassinate Charlie Kirk and shoot at Trump and shoot up an ICE facility and everything else, throw Molotov cocktails at Jews, kill a CEO. I mean, it's endless. Shoot up a church, kill the Border Patrol agent. It's always some reason that they label it and claim justification for why they're being murderous, mentally ill, leftist, terrorists, and we're going to start seeing it go. Now, the thing about being labeled a foreign terrorist organization is Antifa is not just an American organization. There has been riots and attacks all over. They just had a huge one in Italy, and they had a huge one in France, with all of them doing the exact same thing they do here, attacking police, throwing Molotov cocktails, trying to camouflage who the actual perpetrators are in a whole group. So they got thousands of people, and maybe 100 of them are doing violence, but they're all working as a camouflage. They call it the black bloc. Italian government faced Antifa riots after failing to recognize Palestine, similar violence in Paris, and recently documented activism in China and Turkey. So what needs to happen is we need to get that foreign terrorist organization, and then there's all kinds of new things that you can do to put a stop to this and to prosecute them. We all know what's going on. It's ridiculous. Says Wendy needs that. Savlata writes, Antifa chased me in Seattle. Masked thugs for violence and vandalism. They don't like my camera. 100%. Soros pays them. Black clothes and masks. 100%. They're all funded. This is like when you see a riot and all of a sudden they had videos, it was all over the news, and they're out there handing out masks, handing out riot shield masks, and then there'll be pallets of bricks placed. Like, who's paying for that? All kinds of crazy leftists and globalists and people that want bad things to happen, like George Soros and Neville Singham, Sam Bankman-Fried. These people, they just want to pay and cause chaos. And then when they assassinated Charlie Kirk, and they get on there, and all these people and all these leftists said the nastiest stuff possible. Nastiest. And then the big question is, now that Trump has officially called him a terrorist organization, will platforms ban Antifa accounts? And so I think that Elon Musk will. I think that X will be the first platform to ban Antifa content and messaging from the platform. They will ban it. But do we really see Facebook and YouTube? No, because they all want to fly under the radar and play leftist and say, oh, well, this is not a tight-knit organization. There's no leadership. This is a concept, this is a very loose organization. Who's Antifa? Who are the leaders? So they act like there isn't. There's definitely leaders to Antifa. There's definitely organization. They communicate. Someone hands out the flyers. Someone pays the bills. Someone communicates times and place that they're going to organize, what they're going to do. Obviously. But they don't want to say it like that. So they do it secretively to try to sneak this in and get away with this and make it harder for law enforcement to single them out. This is sort of the MO that they've been using the whole time. So YouTube and Google just came out this week talking about how the Biden era censorship, and admitted that Biden, after congressional pressure, but platforms remain hesitant to ban Antifa. But they admitted that they were banning conservative YouTube accounts and Google accounts and social medias. We've all known this. We all know this. Wono writes, a habitual miscarriage of justice is how the LA riots started. There was no justice. Those judges made despicable choices, and no one was held accountable for crimes that were both filmed. Vermont doesn't just need new politicians, the bench needs to be flipped as well, 100%. The judges are right in on this. The judges are all liberal here. They think that they're saving the world and they're going to change the way we do things and push in all their liberal stuff so that they can talk at wine mixers about how progressive and tolerant they are and how they're going to help reform without carceral approaches. And it's failed. And they're so stubborn that they refuse to do the right thing. And this is what I think will happen with huge social media companies and news sites and everything. They're going to defend this terrorist organization as labeled by the President of the United States and the Department of Justice. It's ridiculous. Once they get that foreign terrorist organization status, it'll be impossible for these social media, regardless of how communist or how leftist they are, they will no longer be able to financially contribute to pay them for the content and their views and all of that. Their accounts will be restricted. They will have no way to support them financially, and we'll start to see sanctions show up that will be effective. If platforms refuse to ban Antifa as terrorists, it signals to the public that tech giants fear the left, but not Trump's government. Think about that. Trump's saying that they're terrorists, and if they continue to allow them to use these big sites and make money and spread their hateful message and organize violence against our businesses and our towns, this is crazy. They fear the violent and radical left more than they fear the government's ability to do something about it. If they do not cancel those accounts, the leftist extremists have succeeded in intimidating major media networks, ABC, Disney, through violence and threats and affecting programming like the Jimmy Kimmel Show. Which brings us to our next segment, which is all about this. And we've all seen the meltdowns, and we know exactly what we're talking about. So I've got a video to play for you. Let's play it, and then we'll talk.
The MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
So, obviously, those comments got Jimmy Kimmel canceled. And Rightly so. Rightly so. So the left loves to throw a tantrum when they get in trouble for their words, but let's not forget, because they love to say, oh, the free speech, and why would you cancel? Why did I fired for talking about an assassination? Kimmel grasping at straws, talking about how it was a right-winger. No, it wasn't. Nobody believed that for a second, that a right-wing MAGA person killed Charlie Kirk. You're out of your mind. Conservatives don't kill. Podcast segment. Free speech under siege. Trump, Roseanne, Kimmel, Alex Jones, Loomer, and Biden censorship. So Trump was banned from Twitter. The sitting president banned from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter after January 6th. And in 2025, Snapchat permanently blocked him. The left cheered for that. They loved it. Oh, absolutely loved that Trump was banned. A sitting president censored. But when Jimmy Kimmel says disgusting remarks about Charlie Kirk trying to blame MAGA for the killing and gets canned, and not only canned for his comments, for trashing out Trump, now it's a violation of free speech. Oh, now it is. Not your show sucked and it wasn't funny and your ratings were terrible and that was the last straw. Now it's, oh, this must be censorship. Conservatives see this as political censorship, silencing the biggest conservative figure ever, the sitting president, Donald Trump, getting kicked off of platforms. You guys were all for that. But whining about this show that nobody watches? Roseanne. They canceled Roseanne. She calls it a double standard. She was fired in 2018 for a racist tweet, permanently blacklisted. Jimmy Kimmel was briefly suspended for blaming MAGA after Charlie Kirk's assassination, but they quickly put it up because we all loved it. I thought it was so funny when Disney pulled the show and then all the liberals started freaking out and saying they're going to ban and cancel their Disney subscriptions. And I already know they're not going back. They're not going to reinstate those Disney Plus subscriptions. Disney got ping, ping. That's what happens. Go woke. Go broke. Disney's been, deserved that for a long time. For all the crazy leftist crap they've been pulling and ruining all the remakes and doing all this controversial stuff. The right has been done with them forever. Sick of it. And now the left is, and then they're panicking. They canceled Alex Jones. Banned from major platforms in 2018 for controversial speech, sparking fears of mass conservative deplatforming. 100%. And it's the truth. Google and YouTube just admitted to it. That Biden was calling around telling them they don't want that kind of stuff. Ban those accounts. Shadow ban them. I guarantee you that we have a shadow ban. This is why when I go live on X, which I only have a few thousand followers on X, I've got hundreds of people watching me live right now. But I've got almost 20,000 followers on Facebook, and we've got like 10. It's always been like that. Facebook, YouTube, they don't want it. Those are leftist organizations. They want to censor conservatives. They do not want us gaining a following and getting our message out. That's why they used to hit us with misinformation badges and cancel us and ban us for forever. They love to ban us. They just kicked me off of Facebook for 3 months for my reality segment. I put out a reel. Laura Loomer's censorship war. Loomer was banned from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Uber, Lyft, payment apps, and even banned from conservative events for her far-right activism. It was awesome. She's awesome. If you don't follow Laura Loomer or know who she is, you got to go over to X to get her stuff. Go over there and see what she does. She's got the receipts. That's what she does. She knows how to get information about scandals and about stuff that people are taking money, people are breaking laws, people have a past, whatever it is. She will find it, and she is ruthless. She has sued tech giants for suppression, but courts rule social media aren't bound by First Amendments. And they aren't. But they love to claim it when it benefits their narrative that they want to push. They want to cry for social media when Jimmy Kimmel cry for censorship and First Amendment freedoms when Jimmy Kimmel gets silenced or fired or they lose their job at work for trashing out Charlie Kirk. But it makes no sense, and they freak out when people who are conservative say the very same thing. It's a double standard. Despite bans, Loomer remains influential in MAGA circles, and so she is friends with Donald Trump, and she went in there and got a bunch of people fired because she shows up with all this evidence and, gets people fired. Google and YouTube admit Biden-era censorship. Crazy. The Biden administration pressured Google to remove content, especially on COVID and election topics. Trump always talked about this, and we all already knew that man, if you are a Trump supporter, you are going to get no engagement on your social media posts, and people like me have suffered for years because of that. Suffered, and now the current is changing. People want the truth. The truth is that they've all been bought and paid for, and they are voting against your best interest, and everybody knows it. YouTube is now reinstating banned conservative accounts, admitting past censorship was unacceptable because they are seeing that everybody's switching to the Republican team. They are tired of left-wing, crazy mental illness, people shooting up churches, shooting up schools, killing Charlie Kirk, taking shots, shooting the president in the ear, throwing Molotov cocktails, killing Jewish people, beating up Jewish students on schools. They're tired of it. How can you back that up politically? How can you take the side of the left through all this violence, shooting up ICE facilities, attacking police? It's nuts. It's nuts. And they're censoring the right? What's happening is, and it's beautiful, people are waking up, and these companies got to get ahead of it. Those leftist media outlets, they're losing money because everybody's going over to X. Everybody wants to get the right-wing truth. They want the truth about what's really happening, and they don't like censorship. And so these companies are going to have to switch up. We've seen Mark Zuckerberg do it. Mark Zuckerberg was totally whacked out on the left, censoring with COVID stuff and all these bans on Facebook. You weren't allowed to say certain words, banned. You swore, banned. Anything racist, banned. Anything opinions or conservative, banned. And now he's over here playing UFC, wants to go to the White House, hanging out with Trump, Elon Musk, wants to do the whole thing. And he's switching to being conservative. And it's going to be the best thing for actual freedom of speech. Kimmel blamed MAGA supporters for exploiting Charlie Kirk's assassination, calling them a gang. Oh, yeah, we got to be the MAGA gang, or we're a cult. Trump appointed FCC pressured ABC to suspend Kimmel. Trump praised it. Disney reversed the suspension amid backlash, and some ABC affiliates refused to air Kimmel's show. Conservatives face harsher penalties, and everybody knows that. It's just the truth. Conservatives face way more scrutiny on everything. The left goes crazy. They say whatever they want, and nobody ever even pays attention. They say some of the most racist stuff ever. Black people are sick of it. Black people just want to be treated as equals. Not treated like they need to be handled with care, or that they need a white liberal woman to save them or help them because they're struggling. That's not what they want. They hate white liberal women. They don't want anything to do with them. Black people are switching to Team Republican faster than anybody. They're sick of the left trying to sneak in illegals and shovel all kinds of financial benefits to illegal aliens and skip right over black communities and veteran communities and homeless people here that need the funding being spent on us, on actual citizens of this country. Everybody knows that the left has been trying to funnel in millions of illegals, trying to stack up the censuses and their own voting base and get these illegals, shovel them some social security numbers, and they can sneak into getting benefits and checks and housing and freebies, and that they will essentially buy themselves new voters as their policies break down and everybody turns on them. And now they're getting violent because the gig is up and they know it. And ICE is deporting them. And everybody's done with it. The Planet Hank live show, the finest form of entertainment on the internet as we cross over 200 live viewers. Of the show, let me go ahead and set the mood for all of us. Let's set the mood. I need 3 people to put up 3 dog emojis in the chat. 3 people put 3 dog emojis up in the chat in the comment sections, and I will give the finest boy in all of Vermont and all of the nation, really. His leg's been hurting him lately, so we're really going to need some help with that. We really need you to help us out and throw up 3 dog emojis in the chat. 3 dog emojis, and I will give Marco this beautiful milk bone. There we go. Shelly Valachos, Lauren Tiller. We need 1 more, Marco. We'll see if they love you, buddy. Terry gives it up. Chives over on X. I like this 80s style music. Whoa, no, throws them up. VT Gal. Edward Chinichi throwing up tons of them. Planet Hank live show. The finest form of entertainment. If you are a Vermont patriot, if you're a wonderful person, we're always fighting back, trying to make our communities better. Speak out against the leftist violence. We condemn all of your attacks, verbally, physically, your murders, your degenerate lifestyles. We don't want that. We want to have good lives. We want to do better. We're sick of the BS, and we're going to get it out of our communities. One of them came in here tonight trying it. Why don't you leave then? No, why don't you leave? We're taking Vermont back. We're going to make Vermont great again. And it all starts with voting. And I'm going to be presenting everybody here with a bunch of options, showing everybody exactly what you need to do to take control of your states, take control of your vote, and kick these idiots out. We don't want to be run by a bunch of progressive activists who don't know what they're doing. Go to one of these select board meetings, you got homeless people in there trying to tell us what we should be doing with the money and how to run our local and state governments. What the heck are you guys talking about? We got it, okay? We're going to run our own states. We don't need a bunch of activists who are broke trying to come in here and put up a bunch more policies that make no sense. Hotel vouchers, decriminalizing prostitution. Forget it. Forget it. That's not what Vermont stands for. We're sick of it, and we're done with it. And we are coming to vote you out, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. I don't care how many times you call us racist or try to trash us out. We want to talk about your leaders' voting records now. I don't care about name calling. We don't care about that. We care about why did you vote to increase the hotel voucher program from $40 million to increase it by $16.8 million more dollars to suck more drug addicts and criminals into our communities. We're tired of it, and we're voting you out.